Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, I do want to speak about Barcelona's defensive mistakes. I believe that this is a very important topic to discuss because if Barcelona want to do well this season in the Champions League, in La Liga, it basically means, right, that we have to solidify our defense and not make any ridiculous mistakes that might lead towards us losing 3 points or losing 2 points or maybe down the line, maybe even getting us knocked out from the Champions League. And I'm going to be explaining what I do mean by this. Recently, right, in the match against Dortmund, Cubarsi made a huge, ridiculous, unnecessary mistake that led towards a penalty. I'm like, dude, why would you even push the striker inside the box? You already know that everything is already against FC Barcelona, and so every little thing that you do inside the box from the opposition is going to be accounted for. And so Cubarsi gave Dortmund a free penalty and a free goal. And I believe the main reason why Cubarsi pushed the striker is because he was nervous, and it was because the ball was going into the box with already 6 to 7 players defending. So like this whole pushing thing was very unnecessary, and Cubarsi maybe felt at that time that maybe the striker was going to win him. But if you actually look at this picture here, you can see that he was offside before he even got pushed. But Cubarsi, I believe he panicked, and that is why he pushed the player inside the box. It was unnecessary, and this is a very consistent thing because if we also go back to the match against Real Betis, Frenkie de Jong made a very similar mistake, and it was to Vitor Roque. Vitor Roque found the ball on the left flank. He was running down the left flank with the ball. The only thing that Frenkie had in terms of decision making, it was to either completely let go of Vitor Roque to go up against Iñaki Peña or foul him. And to Frenkie de Jong, he had to foul Vitor Roque. We have discussed this multiple times. We have seen moments like this before because this whole thing about leaving one of the players from the opposition, right, on a 1v1 with the goalkeeper is nothing new. We saw this in the Champions League. I don't know if you guys remembered, but the same thing happened with Araujo and Barcola, right? We saw PSG break out of the Barcelona press. Then Barcola was going to go on a 1v1 versus Ter Stegen. Araujo had to rush it back, and the only thing that he was left with was to either let him go to go on a 1v1 versus the goalkeeper or foul the player. Araujo, because he was so nervous and because he really did not want to have Barcola take a shot against Ter Stegen, he did foul the player, and that led towards PSG getting their goal, and it led towards PSG getting the confidence and eventually knocking us out of the Champions League. This is what I do mean, right? Like if we cannot stop committing these type of errors, it is what's going to lead us towards losing 3 points or losing 2 points or getting us out of the Champions League. So when Frenkie made this decision to knock down Vitor Roque, I'm like, this is exactly what happened to Ronald Araujo against Barcola. They panicked. They said, oh my God, like I was supposed to be the one guarding this player. I have to do something, right? Just something. But sometimes, right, the correct decision is to just leave the situation alone and take your L and just pray and hope that the goalkeeper saves you. That is the only thing, because the one thing that you're going to do by fouling the player in the box is guarantee them a goal, because most likely penalties convert to goals, right? 90% of the time. I think that Barcelona this season, we have improved our attack in terms of goals and effectiveness. So there is light at the end of the tunnel, right? Just because we make mistakes like this constantly, we have seen this already twice under this season compared to last season, it does not mean that it's the end of the world. I believe that this Barcelona team has some light at the end of the tunnel. But if we want to really be solid and immovable, we have to address the back issues, because I don't know, maybe one day our attack might not even fire and we're out of solutions, right? And then we're forced to defend, and we're forced to have a great 1-0 type of game. If we look at how much Barcelona score per match in La Liga, they score 2.9 goals per 90 minutes. That is almost 3 goals per 90 minutes. But then if you look at the goals conceded per match, they concede at least 1 goal per 90 minutes. It is 1.1. We are not one of the best. Teams like Sociedad, Atletico Madrid, Real Madrid, Getafe, Athletic Club, Rayo Vallecano all have better defense than us, and Barcelona should not be a team like that. As a matter of fact, during that 2022-2023 season under Xavi Hernandez, we only allowed 20 goals. Right now, at the moment that I'm recording this video, we have already let go of 20 goals, and we still have another 5 to 6 months left. And so overall, the defense does need to improve, and the first thing that we have to improve is to minimize these situations. How can we minimize the situations of these wingers from the opposition going on a 1v1 versus the goalkeeper? And so there are 2 points that I do want to make here. Point number 1, we have to stop making these players go into these positions in the first place, right? Because every time I do see this plays, whether it's Frenkie de Jong being forced to run back to stop Vitor Roque or Araujo to run back to stop Barcola, I noticed a very similar scenario where these players, or it's a similar habit, whatever you want to call it, but these players, they tend to plant their feet and they fail to recover the ball immediately after they do lose the ball. So when they plant their feet and the opposition is moving with the ball, that is how they do find those situations where they can go on a 1v1 versus the goalkeeper. And so if we can eliminate those scenarios, we do not even have to talk about point number 2. But if we can't, and we have to just deal with the fact that these things are always going to happen because of our high line, because there's only 2 center backs at the back. The point number 2 is going to be we have to stop having our nerves kick in and not panic. Like there's only two solutions here. If you're in a situation like this again, the only way to stop it is to just by letting it go, right? Just pray that the goalkeeper stops it, or you have to be good enough to tackle the ball and the ball only, because it is very easy for you, right? When you are so close to conceding a goal, to make a mistake, you might even hit the player. Like you have to be Van Dijk levels of tackling. You have to be very on point. But as of now, players like Araujo and Frenkie, based off what they have shown, they're not good enough to stop the player successfully without committing a foul. I believe that if Barcelona from the very beginning can just be focused, right, very attentive, not having their feet planted, and make sure they counter press the opposition to make sure that they don't find an outing, these mistakes will never happen again. And Barcelona cannot lose their concentration. Hansi Flick needs to address this issue as fast as possible, because, okay, like fine, right? Like if these issues get permitted in La Liga, that's fine, because we can always recoup another 3 points in the next game. But if this does happen in the Champions League, like one mistake like this is going to get you out. Like we saw this against PSG last season, and these habits continue to happen and leaking under Hansi Flick's FC Barcelona. So speaking about Frenkie de Jong, I also want to speak about like his status at Barcelona, because right now I just don't see Frenkie's impact at the club at all. I think that the reason why he has been underperforming is not because of his fatigueness or because he's tired. I think that all of that is just a myth. These players barely do play. They play 3 to 4 days, and some of these players don't even play at all in the full 90 minutes. And when I see Frenkie de Jong come in to play like 30 minutes or something like that, I expect him to be in top level. Like I don't see this player saying, you know, oh, I'm fatigued and tired and we play too many games. Like, no, bro, you don't play a lot. And so I don't think this is an issue. I think that when he comes onto the pitch, he does approach mental issues. It's not fatigueness, it's not him being tired. It's mental issues. Very similar to Ansu Fati. Every time I do see him have the ball, he does look a little nervous, and he looks like he second guesses everything that he does, and he cripples under pressure. For example, there was a situation on the 81st minute where Barcelona were leveled to Dortmund 2-2, and Frenkie de Jong had the ball but back passed it to a Dortmund player that could have led towards Dortmund winning this match 3-2. And I'm like, dude, you are the number 10 or the number 8 for this team within a 4-2-3-1 system. Why are you back passing to one of the players? And second of all, why did you even misplace this pass? Or why did you get scared off of the press that Dortmund were giving out to you? If anything, you're supposed to do the one thing that every 10 should do, and that is to progress the ball forward, not back pass. You're not a CDM within this context here. And so when I saw this mistake, I'm like, what is going on? Like, why are you scared? The old Frenkie that we used to talk about, right, the Frenkie of 2018, 19, 20, 21, we always said that every time he had the ball and he was being pressed, he never lost the ball, he never made a mistake, and that old Frenkie just seems like he's gone. He makes misplaced passes, he makes mistakes, he gets crippled under pressure, and that never used to happen with Frenkie. And that is why I do say it is a mental issue. I don't think he believes that he is good enough right now to perform at top level, when I know that he is. That is the thing, and that is the key. I know for a fact, and I think that all of us know for a fact, that Frenkie de Jong at 100% is good enough to start in this team. But as of now, it does not seem like he's 100% confident. And I believe this is the reason why Hansi Flick uses him as a 10 and not as a 6 and play next to either Casado or Pedri, is because he sees the nervousness in the player, which is why he wants him up there in the number 10 position, and to just say like, okay, look, the only thing that I want you to do is to progress the ball and look for those assists or key passes into the box. That is the only thing. That, my friends, is the reason why Frenkie has a new position and a new role. He is no longer going to be utilized as a 6. After Casado and Pedri, the one player Hansi Flick does rely on, it is Gavi, and it is not Frenkie de Jong. We live in a time, right, it's so weird to see that where Pedri plays in a deeper position compared to Frenkie. We always thought in the past 6 years that Frenkie was going to be our true 6 with Pedri up top creating. But no, 6 years later under Hansi, to him, he has found the code. He has cracked the code, and he believes that Frenkie deserves to be as a 10 and Pedri as a 6. It's crazy to even think about that. But that is where we are right now in terms of our defensive mistakes, what we need to fix, and Frenkie de Jong's future. So that is it. That is going to be wrapping up today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.